more so than any. I know which one I would pick, but that doesn't mean you have to pick it. Okay, yes, sir.
Can we ask which one you would pick?
Can you ask? Yes, I think it was the financial crisis, the bankruptcy. But that's my opinion, but I can support that, but you pick one. If you pick that one, that's fine with me, I don't care. Because the financial crisis is what led to everything else. The king was forced to call the Estates General. And then after the Estates General, then they got into an argument how the Estates General would sit. And then when Lewis sided with the first two estates, that got him into trouble because that led to, in my opinion, to the revolution, because the third estate said, okay, hell with it, we can't, this guy isn't on our side, he doesn't care, he's still a traditional conservative, he's going back to back up the first two estates, so let's move out, let's go down to the tennis court. And when they put the tennis court together, they said, why don't we just go a step farther and call ourselves the government? Then they called themselves the government. After the Bastille Day, they formed, they got violent, and then after that, when the king tried to escape after they wrote the Constitution as a revolutionary government, it showed he had no good intention of solving the financial issue of France. So you can, take off on the issue of the financial crisis. And, the author that I usually take that information from, A Short History of the French Revolution, you might be able to pick it up online or somewhere else. Jeremy, I wrote his name on the board before. Dr. Jeremy Popkin from the University of Kentucky. It's a real short book.
What's the name of the book?
A Short History of the French Revolution. But it's very detailed. It gets right to the point right away. The book is real cheap to buy too. I used to have students buy it. It's a very, very good. If you want to become a quick expert in a brief way on the French Revolution, that's a book to read. It's really a good book. And you just go in there and find the issue about the financial crisis. He picked the whole French Revolution apart. And that's probably the best book on the French Revolution, in my opinion.
Does he cover all the causes?
Pardon?
Does he cover all the causes?
All of them, yeah. Yeah. But he'll touch on one more than the other. And he's very good at moving from one part of the revolution to another without having to commit himself to a real long explanation. See, he's an example of how a person can address an issue or a question and do it in a brief way and do a really good job and cover all the bases. Okay? Okay. So that's, and I don't have to agree with it. You just have to support your answer. Try to avoid. You can use sources, but folks, you got to use sources for your education. Maybe I made mistakes in the past, and telling students that they can use sources. Using them, maybe I should have defined what that means. Use them to read and acquire an education from, and then tell me what you learned from that as an answer to the question. Okay, is that a little bit more specific? Is that helping? I don't mind, you getting other sources of information to help you. And, and I know some students feel a little bit insulted. They say, I can write that good. I say, it sounds like you copied it. Okay, well, I don't like to spend time in arguments. Try to explain it in as best as you can, the education you receive from these sources, using your own words. Okay. Number 2 question. I always find this question interesting. If the French revolted to get rid of monarchy, they got rid of Louis XVI, why'd they accept Napoleon? Napoleon ended up being a monarch. Now, I think we talked about that last week. What did we say wasn't a reason? Didn't you say what the answer was last week, Joe? What? Somebody in this class. Yes. Stability. Anything else? Any other reason? You could, if you probably explain the stability answer, you'd probably be in good shape. Did Napoleon? Did he demonstrate some sense of stability. What was it about him? They knew enough about him. Okay, he did have a history. Some of his biography might be useful, but Napoleon offered them, stability. They were tired of the violence. See, I always try to imagine. Students are very good at imagining things when they're writing answers to questions, and I give credit to your imagination. You want to know a trick of history, especially when you're writing history, and this is not a joke. Sometimes there's events in history, even in modern history, where there's a blank between two facts. Like a fill in the blank. There's a word missing, or a sentence missing, or a person missing. So sometimes what historians do, it's like a piece to a puzzle that's missing. So historians have to get out the scissors and cut this piece and put it in there and hope that it fits in with the picture. I'm using an analogy, so I'm going to continue the analogy. So all of a sudden, when you cut that piece out and it fits in the puzzle, it fits the picture. So, or I'll put it a different way. I have found many times, and maybe it's because God is speaking to me and He's telling me what the truth is, or in other words, He's telling me what that blank is. Okay? And I'll say, boy, I hope I said something, the right thing. And sure, now I don't go to the internet. I go home and go to a book. Okay? And sure enough, what I said in class, even if I said it and I wasn't sure of it. If I don't know something, I don't know. If a student asks me a question, I don't know. I don't try to fake it. But there's a difference between not knowing an answer to a question and then saying, well, you know what, but I think I can fill in the blank. So I fill in the blank and I'll say to myself, boy, if this turns out I'm wrong, I got to tell them next week. So I'll go home and I'll go look in the book and I was right. So what I'm saying is, students can find themselves answering a question by way of them filling in the blank. Use your imagination. Fill in the blank. So, why did the French people accept Napoleon? Okay, stability. Okay, is there anything else? Think about it. What did France go through for 10 years? Violence. Killing. Innocent people getting killed because they were suspected by Maximilian as being traitors to the revolution or counter-revolutionaries. It was proven that two royal counter-revolutions, 1795 and 1799. And Napoleon he stopped the one in 1795 and then joined the one in 1799. And so the French people finally got it. They said, you know what, maybe he's right. Let's stop all this violence. And I've told you that Napoleon was, I'm sure you've heard the words in American politics, invented back in 2004, Vice President Dick Cheney calling John Kerry a flip-flopper. Napoleon invented flip-flop. Napoleon was east one day and west the next. Whatever suited him is what he did. So, Napoleon stopped the revolution and people said, maybe he's got a point. We're tired of the violence. It's not getting us anywhere. So we got domestic violence and international war. We need peace. And that Napoleon, if he's strong enough to stop these revolutions and say, everybody shut up and sit down, I'm going with him. And you'll find that maybe not word for word, but you go look in a book or you go look in Popkin's book, there it is. So you got to give yourself a chance to be able to explain these things in your own words. Trust your knowledge, trust yourself to be able to explain these things and give it a shot and see how far it gets. I'll tell you, it's a lot farther, and you get a lot more mileage out of me doing it that way than you trying to find it in some, or copy it from a source. I mean, if you can use the source to educate yourself and then take it from there. Okay, does that help? So that's the second question. Now, the third question. Okay, we're all done with Napoleon. Napoleon is gone. Even though he lives for another 6 years, some say he was poisoned. Okay. We get to an event that's called the Congress of Vienna, and this one was the one that formed or assembled, or I should say reassembled, in 1815. And let me show you this is probably the most classical. Either one of these are pictures. I just like to show the image of this guy would establish the European system from 1815. It would last from 1815 to 1848. Okay, so for the next 33 years, Europe was under what was called the Metternich system. That guy right there took charge, and he's a good person to look at. He's from Austria. He's the Austrian prince. His job was chancellor, like a prime minister. But he was a very powerful person, not only in Austria, but among the European states. He's kind of like the broker, the political broker of Europe. He's kind of like the janitor. If something is broke, call him up, he'll fix it. But he's telling you, I'm the janitor. Don't fix it yourself. Call me, I'll fix it, or we'll form together, we'll form another meeting, and we'll figure out how to fix it. Now, Metternich is saying at this meeting, Metternich is a very staunch, a very dedicated, and a very determined, and a very loyal conservative. There's just isn't enough words to describe his conservative beliefs. Now, you know, the kind of, when we talk in history about the word conservative, you know, don't confuse the American vernacular of conservative. We pervert that term. You know, conservatives in history stood for something different, not entirely different. Conservatives stood for tradition. They literally did not like anything associated with change. And Metternich's first argument was, as soon as those liberals surfaced, and liberals were people who favored change, get rid of, you know, the Rush Limbaugh, Fox News definition of conservative. Those people are nitwits. They have no education, you know. So I always tell students, I'm not conservative bashing. I'm just saying we study history. We're scholars. We're not newspaper people. We are students and scholars, and we talk in that manner. Okay. Metternich believed in tradition. And what did tradition consist of? Tradition consisted of, you know, restoring the authority of kings or monarchs. Monarchy is number one on his list. You know, monarchy is number one on his list. Monarchy meaning kings, queens, emperors, whatever. Monarchs, you remember the Burke phrase, principle of legitimacy. Okay, Metternich is restoring that principle of legitimacy. I'm trying to remember the years of Burke's life. I think Burke died in, 1798. I want to find out. In other words, because I'm saying that Metternich, let me find out. I used to know all these, be able to do all this, but anyway.
1797.
1797? 17, if I'm not mistaken, did you look it up? Okay, 29 to 1797.